Welcome to MK True Crime. I'm Dave Aronberg, your host today. I'm the former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, managing partner at Dave Aronberg Law, and author of the book Fighting the Florida Shuffle. Here's what's on the docket. Diddy was sentenced to 50 months behind bars last week. What happens now? We'll discuss. And on Monday, the Supreme Court declined to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Could she be pardoned? Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez of butt fumble fame was charged with a major felony. We'll get into the bizarre story and much more. I'm joined today by my fellow MK True Crime contributors, Arthur Aidala, famed and fashionable New York trial attorney, and Matt Murphy, former homicide prosecutor and author of the Book of Murder. Let's start with our thoughts on Diddy's sentencing last week. So, Arthur, you like the sentence? 50 months? You're the criminal defense lawyer amongst us. Matt and I are former prosecutors. I assume you wanted him to walk free and get a bronze medal or something. What's going on?
I was, how are you, sir? I was very, I should say, sirs. I was very, look, I know many of the defense attorneys on this team here. I think there was 8 in total. So, of course, as being their buddy, I was rooting for them. They did great. I mean, let's be realistic. It's the Southern District of New York. That's where I've been practicing for quite some time. It's a very, very tough place for a defendant and a defense attorney. Many of those judges are former SDNY prosecutors. They lean heavily in that direction. So when you get handed a client, you get retained by a client who's facing life in prison, and at the end of the whole thing, they're going to have to do probably another 24 to 29 months of incarceration. In the SDNY, that is a win. So, I mean, their sentencing was a real production. I don't think I know of or have ever been involved. I know I've never been involved with the sentencing that started at 10 a.m. and ended at, I think it was 4:40 when the judge gave his decision. I don't know how much influence their efforts made, although the judge did say, I'm cognizant of the guidelines here, and I'm not sure why I should stray from them. But I don't know if the judge, who's a very smart guy, clerked on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, whether he was playing a little bit. Look, when you have a case of this magnitude regarding the media, there's a lot of gamesmanship. There's a lot of playing to the cameras, a lot of playing to society. And that is one of the things the judge had to take into consideration in the sentencing. When general deterrence, I mean, by law, he's got to take into account general deterrence. And when he said, I believe a significant jail sentence, I think it was a significant period of incarceration is necessary here. I did not expect him to say 50 months. I was expecting, 100 months, 120 months, 10 years, 8 years, 7 years. But I will say, in my own defense, consistently from the day of conviction until the morning of sentencing, when everyone on the planet Earth asked me what I thought, I said it's plus or minus 5. I said he could go as low as 4 or as high as 6, but I think that's the range where he'll wind up. And he went on the lower end of that range. So no matter how the defense attorneys say that they're disappointed and it was a miscarriage and it was the judge was the 13th juror, from a very realistic and objective point of view, the defense team did a great job.
Well, Arthur, you teed this up nicely. Before I go to Matt, I want to play clip 1 where that defense lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, is talking about the judge as a 13th juror and saying he will appeal. Let's play that clip.
We are planning to appeal. We think we have strong bases to appeal. The strongest basis is that the jury reached a verdict on coercion. It found there was not coercion. And I think the judge said coercion today as a basis for a sentence at least a dozen times. We think that is unconstitutional. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's verdict.
All right. Now, that guy on his right, on our left, looked a little bit like you, Matt Murphy. Do you have a doppelganger is my first question. And secondly, what do you think about the verdict here, the penalty?
Well, Arthur's right. This was a huge win for the defense. Remember, he was facing life, and they came back with these 2 Mann Act violations. The judge actually came in and he said the range was 70 months plus. So he did depart from the sentencing guidelines. He departed downward, which I think is going to insulate this on appeal in a big way. There was a law that came in essentially that federal judges cannot sentence on what's known as acquitted conduct. But he didn't really do that. He based it on violence that he heard related to various things. Like they didn't convict on the RICO allegations that had things like arson or the video of Cassie Ventura's beating in the hotel that we've all seen a million times. But the court, I think, can still consider that as circumstances surrounding the offense. That's the ruling that the judge made. That's essentially what they're going to challenge on appeal. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think that, and I wanted to get Art's thoughts on this. I did a little math on this. He's going to be eligible for the RDAP program. That's a residential treatment program. That knocks 12 months off your sentence, I think, in most cases, and he'll be eligible for a halfway house 6 months prior to the termination of his sentence. He's already got over 13 months in. So by my calculations, he's only looking at about 18, 19 more months, right, before he's eligible for transition into a halfway house. And any appellate process that they've just kind of boldly announced on the courthouse steps very dramatically isn't even going to be in its teenage years by the time he's already out, is the way I see it. You can still run that, I suppose, but I just don't see that getting any traction, guys.
Let's play it out.
My thoughts.
I think your calculations are pretty correct. I mean, we will guesstimate a little bit. It depends whether he gets in a fight when he's in prison or anything like that, but more or less you're on target. But if you play it out, Dave, so hypothetically, he wins. Now, it would only be if he won the appeal. It would only be a retrial on the Mann Act, right? He's already been acquitted. But, you never know what can happen, right? He could go in front of a different judge who then sentences him in a different way, although you're not supposed to be penalized. But if new facts or new circumstances came up. So I get the fact that they got to say they're going to appeal, and I'm assuming they are going to appeal. But Matt's right. I mean, it's even if they expedite the whole thing and they say, oh, yep, it's reversed and he should be let go, it's probably going to be a matter of maybe many weeks or a couple of months. He didn't get sentenced to 10, 15 years. He got sentenced to 50 months. I will tell you guys, I was literally walking to the cameras because I did a lot of media at the sentencing. But I was listening, I was reading actually the New York Times, and I think it was CNN, they were live streaming from the courtroom exactly what was being said. And, when the judge said things like, I am taking into consideration all of your good deeds. However, whenever you hear a federal judge in sentencing say, however, you're like, oh boy, here it comes. I cannot ignore the bad things that came out in this trial. And he is a human being, and he did see a grown man beating the hell out of a defenseless woman. And to say that doesn't play a little bit of a role means, you think the judge is a robot. But then when I heard 55 months, I was like, whoa. I mean, he gave him the maximum fine, which was, for him, it's probably like Matt giving me a nickel. But, it's overall, he's done. I'm sure. I know the defense was looking to go to have a celebratory meal. And I was texting them saying, you should still have that celebratory meal. Like, you guys crushed it. They wanted to have it with their client. And the judge said what I had been saying for a while. Prosecutor asking for 11 years was ridiculous and out of the realm of reasonableness. But the defense asking for time served, which was 14 months, basically, when you factor in his good time behavior, was also ridiculous. And the judge, he didn't go through the middle. He went closer to the defense request. And as someone who's been in the Southern District of New York for decades now, that doesn't happen too often. So hats off.
Art, I think it is the Goldilocks approach. Not too little, not too much. I mean, after all, if he had gone higher, which he could have, then it would have given the defense more grounds for appeal. So it's more likely he stays behind bars because of that sentence. That's Matt Murphy's point. Plus, there is the possibility of a Trump pardon.
Afternoons can be rough. Energy fades, cravings kick in, focus goes out the window. The quick fix? Another coffee. but that can lead to jitters or a crash later or can interfere with sleep. Peak's Sun Goddess Matcha is another option. It can give steady energy and help you focus without the ups and downs. This is not just any matcha. It's organic, ceremonial grade, and grown in Japan's pure volcanic soil far away from pollution. It's harvested by tea masters and screened for toxins not once, but 4 times. That is how serious they are about quality. The taste is smooth, creamy, and rich, not bitter like lower quality matcha. It's packed with antioxidants to keep you sharp and steady. Whether it's how the day starts or how it gets back on track, this matcha is not just a drink. It can be a better daily habit. Right now, you can get up to 20% off for life, plus a free rechargeable frother and glass beaker. It's backed by a 90-day money-back guarantee. Go to peaklife.com/Megan. That's PIQUE life.com/Megan to try it for yourself. Again, that's PIQUE life.com/Megan.
President Trump is making a little some waves about possibly pardoning Diddy. And I can tell you, I believe that if this sentence were a lot higher, he would have pardoned him. I think the fact that it's just 50 months probably reduces the chance of a pardon, but not eliminates it. In fact, we've got a clip of President Trump talking about a potential pardon, not just for Diddy, but apparently Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Let's hear this. Clip 4.
The Supreme Court is back and said that they rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're...
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
He hadn't heard the name in a long time. Right? I mean, no one's talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And he still calls Diddy Puff Daddy, which is kind of quaint. Matt Murphy?
I do also. It's an age thing, brother.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it's old school, man. You're old school. So, Matt Murphy, what do you take of President Trump's equivocation on Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the devil's accomplice, and Diddy, a.k.a. Puff Daddy?
It's not going to happen on either one of them. There's just no way. First of all, one of the interesting things about our modern era and both of these cases is neither of these really is tainted by politics. These are not political prosecutions. Diddy got prosecuted because he was a bully and he did horrible things. And Ghislaine Maxwell, her whole involvement in that was spine-chilling and gross, and she was up to her eyeballs in it. Let's not forget, Maria Farmer was one of the first people that came out. According to her, Ghislaine Maxwell threatened to kill her, and she was a 16-year-old girl. So there isn't enough political taint, in my view, on either one of these cases. These are good old-fashioned good guys, bad guys. There's plenty of politics involved in each one, especially in Epstein. But at the end of the day, neither of them deserves a pardon. And I think that if he looked at it, Diddy deserved at least what he got, I think, in the view of most people. I don't think there's any political vig in that for the president to weigh in. And let's not forget, Diddy was also vocally anti-Trump. And Ghislaine Maxwell, she just got her appeal denied by the United States Supreme Court. And there's I would be shocked if there's a pardon in her future, because she was up to her eyeballs in this. She really did procure young girls and young women from around the world to be sexually abused by Epstein. And I don't see any advantage at all in Donald Trump.
So here's what I need to jump in, Matt. You've done, it's fair to say you've done thousands of indictments, correct? Thousands.
I've done,
thousands
lots.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And in the course of your storied career as a prosecutor, if you were going to charge the head of a crime family like Jeffrey Epstein with a major crime like he was, and you had someone, according to you, up to that person's eyeballs in the criminal activity of the boss, tell the ladies and gentlemen who are watching right now, sir, Mr. Prosecutor, why would you not, in your initial indictment, why would you not charge the person who's up to their eyeballs and are what David referred to the devil's partner? So
The
why
devil's
in that
accomplice.
initial devil's accomplice? Why two prosecutors? Why would you not go after the person who was the right-hand person, that basically, according to you, like the trigger person of the conspiracy? Because you realize Ghislaine Maxwell's name is nowhere in Jeffrey Epstein's indictment or any of the charging documents.
Yeah, I don't care at all about that. Actually, Arthur, I would go after people separately all the time, especially in big conspiracies. And a lot of times what you see is, I can't tell you how many murder cases I did where we had one person we would jail the heavy, we would arrest them, and we'd leave the wife or the girlfriend out who would visit him in jail, and we would get home runs based on whispering little phone calls and people that they try to intimidate on the outside. And that's I think for really experienced prosecutors, that's a formula that a lot of them will use. You don't absolutely, there's no prosecutorial obligation or constitutional one to charge everyone at the same time. Plus, when I had my hesitation on saying about the politics of that, what happened in Florida, and Dave can speak to this way more cogently than I can, but there was stuff that went on that was shady as hell regarding the grand jury proceedings by what is his name, Barry Krischer, and as well as Alexander Acosta. There was all kinds of behind the scenes stuff going on Epstein. I still think, I don't care about the list, guys. I'm uninterested in that. I want to know who was making phone calls behind the scenes that basically had them kill the Florida prosecutions. And what he pled to, I'm one of those. That deal was a friggin' joke. He never should have gotten that. It was complete prosecutorial failure by the Florida state attorney. Sorry, Dave, if he's a friend of yours. That guy, I will debate him anytime, anywhere. That was a shameful deal. And same thing with Alexander Acosta, who's a Trump appointee. I think so. Again, it balances the right and the left. Like, this was just a bad guy doing bad things, and she was, Arthur, up to her eyeballs in it, which is why she was convicted of it. I know you have a lot of involvement in that case. Again,
look, my office argued. We argued and wrote, just so people know, we wrote and argued her appeal to the Second Circuit, primarily not having to do with really the facts of the case, having to do with what the Supreme Court just denied, which was how much coverage does an immunity agreement give someone when it says the United States of America versus John Doe. Does that mean you have immunity? Does that mean you're immune from being prosecuted in the United States of America? Or does it mean you're just immune from being prosecuted in the particular district where that document is executed? Here in New York, they take the view that it's only where the document is executed. But there are other circuits in the United States of America that says no. When the Washington, D.C. Department of Justice signs off on an immunity agreement, that means the United States of America, as the prosecuting agency, the Department of Justice, cannot charge you. And they can't play games and say, well, okay, we're going to be immune in Florida, but you're not going to be immune in Colorado. And that was the real legal issue here. But I just have to say, Miss Farmer's credibility has been shredded to smithereens. And Miss Virginia Giuffre, she was the one who was supposed to be the real whistleblower. When the Southern District of New York interviewed her to testify in Ghislaine Maxwell's case, they never even called her as a witness because she was so incredible. So there's a lot more to that story. And the part, I guess, that bothers me the most of a case of men abusing women, the only person who got prosecuted and is in jail is a woman. And not one man went down. And my theory is, if Jeffrey Epstein didn't take his own life or wasn't killed or whatever, and he went to trial, no one would even know the name Ghislaine Maxwell. They would have never prosecuted her. It took them over a year after he killed himself to pursue her. It wasn't like they had the docket all lined up for her. She was an afterthought. But once they had spent millions of dollars to get Jeffrey Epstein, and now he's dead, they can't just throw that out the window. So they have to go after her as well.
They did get her on 5 out of 6 counts. The jury of her peers found her to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But to your point, Arthur, and I think it's something that you and Matt and I can all agree upon, is that it is unheard of for someone to get immunity in a deal where they're not even a signatory to the deal. They have to give up nothing. This is a deal where the prosecutors, federal prosecutors, came down and required Jeffrey Epstein to plead guilty to state crimes, not federal crimes. I've never seen that before, where a federal prosecutor says you're going to plead guilty to state crimes and serve state time in a state facility, in this case, local jail. And we're going to give immunity to all conspirators, known and unknown. And since Ghislaine Maxwell was not listed, as you correctly said, Art, she could have an argument that in the future she's untouchable. But because that is so unusual, the Southern District of New York said no. They agreed with Matt, like, I'm not abiding by that garbage offer, that garbage deal, where someone who never even was part of the deal, never gave up anything, never was even named, gets this unlimited get out of jail free card. Not here. And the Supreme Court essentially endorsed that argument from the Southern District of New York by rejecting her appeal, by saying we're not even going to hear it. Quite frankly, I think there was enough grounds for the appeal, Art, that they should have heard it. I think the reason why they didn't is because they didn't want to be affected by the fallout from Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, right? Yeah, there's that stank from this case, and they didn't want to be anywhere near that junkyard. So I think that's the reason. Matt, do you agree? Were you surprised that the Supreme Court passed on this? It seemed like a legitimate argument.
You know, it was a good argument. The problem is that for the viewer, as a fundamental, like, day one criminal law concept, a criminal defendant cannot assert the constitutional rights of somebody else. So Jeffrey Epstein's liberty interests were in jeopardy during that prosecution. It was all focused on him. And it's a parallel sort of analysis, I think. You cannot assert somebody else's constitutional rights, and I don't think you can claim somebody else's deal. That was, like, Alex Acosta had to resign, I believe he was Secretary of Labor, because of that deal was so bad, and there's a federal judge that found that they violated the Federal Victim Rights Act because they engineered that deal and they didn't provide any notice to the victims of that. Victims were treated horribly in that case. Not to spar with my buddy Arthur, I would love to prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell personally for what I saw in that. I prosecuted people for less that are still in prison and who don't have access to the president and as far as Maria Farmer, I don't know. I've read her stuff. She's taken some credibility hits, as a lot of them did, but she was one of the very first victims, came out, reported to Vanity Fair magazine, as many of us know.
How much money did she get?
Vanity Fair.
How much of a check did she get? I'm just curious. I figure. I know P. Diddy's complaining got $30 million. Weinstein's got $4 million.
Hang on. They dumped that article. They wrote a puff piece for him instead. And would I be shocked that your client might have thrown out a death threat to that young woman? That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, I would have loved to have prosecuted her. Maybe one day, maybe she'll get some sort of reversal, Art. We could do it together. I'll get deputized by the Southern District, and
you can take a guy to the prosecutor's office, but you can't take
the
the prosecutor out of the guy. So that's the thing, David.
It's true.
I call him as I see him, and that's one that has bugged me ever since what originally went down in Florida. I think the Miami Herald deserves a lot of credit for bringing it to light. But there's people that are watching this. There's a really interesting article out there called "Why Didn't Vanity Fair Run the Story About Jeffrey Epstein?" It's in the New Yorker, and it's worth a read. It's easy to find on Google, and it gets into the reporter blames the editor blames the reporter.
Who's it by? Ronan Farrow?
Was that Vicky Ward?
Young women who were sexually abused, and everybody's ignoring them, including Vanity Fair magazine.
There's a lot of scandal
in the New Yorker.
Say it again, Art.
I was just wondering, is that article in the New Yorker by Ronan Farrow?
No, it's not Ronan Farrow.
Art, we're glad to have you on because, it's an unpopular viewpoint to go after the Farmer and Virginia Giuffre. You are right, though, that Virginia Giuffre was not found to be credible enough to be a witness in the Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution. Farmer, though, I agree with Matt. I think
You realize
elements
she
of
also
truth.
ruined the life. Sorry, David, but this is also very personal because he's not a client; he's a friend. Is Alan Dershowitz? I mean, she ruined his life. She ruined Alan Dershowitz's life only to, after like almost a decade later, to say, "I may have made a mistake. Maybe it wasn't Alan Dershowitz who did X, Y, and Z to me 6 different times in 6 different places. Maybe I was wrong about that."
Well, she did sign an agreement where she acknowledged
Megyn Kelly covered that, God bless her, extensively when that came out, to be like, come on, you really, you get attacked 6 different times in 6 different places, and now years later, well, maybe it really wasn't him. I mean,
Yeah, that's not Maria.
And what happened to her?
Either.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
That's not Farmer. That's true though, Art. That's
not Farmer.
Right,
I like
Farmer.
Alan Dershowitz, but I think that's a bit of a bold call to say it ruined his life, Art. It was awful.
Oh,
she recanted.
Matt, listen, bro.
But listen, man.
On this one, you got to stay in your lane because I know him very, very, very well. I had to fly down on a plane from New York to Florida because he was almost despondent. And I can tell you exactly what he said, Professor Dershowitz. He said, "Arthur, I've been an educator. I've written books. I've been a trial attorney. And yet when I die, in the first paragraph of my obituary, it will talk about this." He was
he's wrong about that.
despondent.
And you and I might have different definitions on ruining somebody's life. I got a police officer.
Well, all you have is your reputation. All you have is your reputation, at least in the legal field.
How about Matt? You get the last word, and then we're going to go to break.
Yeah, look, when it comes to the sexual abuse of children, I think that we really have to defer for public safety reasons, and I think that what happened in Florida was an abomination that should never happen again. And I think that there's still a lot of questions about that case that people should be asking. And I also think that there's an interesting blend with the media. The reporter who I know, Art, who was involved in the Vanity Fair thing, I think she dropped the ball in a huge way. Her name was on the manifest. I think it's reprehensible in every way. And I agree with you on most things you say, buddy. But I do not agree with you on Maria Farmer. And I think that what she and her sister described was real. It was true. And I think that there's a reckoning out there for others that still hasn't happened yet. And I'm here for it. So,
Matt Murphy, thank you. Thank you for this great debate. Art, Aidala, appreciate it. This is hopefully going to go viral because everyone needs to hear this. This is a really good debate on a great channel. And you can email us if you have questions at mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. But first, next, Mark Sanchez, former NFL quarterback of the stinking Jets. Yes, spoken like a true Miami Dolphins fan, a long-suffering Dolphins fan. He's been hit with felony charges. We're going to get to that next. If you've got questions or comments, as I said, email us, mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Want to know about something positive and upbeat? Well, I've been telling you about Firecracker Farm Hot Salt. It's been a showstopper gift and must-have item for anyone that enjoys spicing up their food. But what exactly is hot salt? Well, it's sea salt infused with a blend of hot pepper that's made by a wonderful little family company. It comes in sleek, stainless steel push grinders that feel great in hand and are really satisfying to use. Their motto is, everything's better with hot salt. And based on the reviews, customers are in full agreement. So give it a try. Go to firecracker.farm right now and use the code MK at checkout for a special discount. That's firecracker.farm, code MK. Get yourself some hot salt before it's all gone. You'll thank me.
Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez was involved in a bizarre incident that happened over the weekend. He was supposedly doing wind sprints at night and got into a tiff with a driver, a guy who picks up cooking oil, like an Uber driver, some driver who picks up cooking oil. They got in a fight, and the next thing you know, Mark Sanchez is getting stabbed. First, he got pepper sprayed, and since the driver is, I believe, 69 years old, he's now in the hospital, and it was Mark Sanchez who's been charged with a serious felony. In fact, we got clip 2. Let's play clip 2. Where the prosecutor is talking about the upgrading of the charges against Sanchez as a felony.
Certainly the thing that stands out to us is this was a situation that did not need to occur. We are literally talking about people fighting over a parking space. We have added more serious charges against Mr. Sanchez. At this point in time, we have filed a felony charge, a level 5 felony of battery involving serious bodily injury, which contains a penalty of 1 to 6 years.
Yeah, can we also show video 1? There's no sound to that. I want the viewers to see what Sanchez looks like here. Yeah. See, so he's out there. Doesn't look like he's doing wind sprints. Maybe this was after the incident, but this was after he got stabbed. Yeah. All right. My gosh. Now, by all accounts, Sanchez is supposed to be a nice guy. Wasn't a very good pro quarterback, but he's doing.
It's all right.
It was okay.
I mean, he's all kidding aside. He was okay enough that we know his name. Like, there were a lot of pro quarterbacks who were so bad, like, they come and they go. But look, I'm a Giants fan who always roots for the Jets, and yes, it was definitely. But he had a couple of good seasons. But this is what I'm going to tell the two of you guys, just because I probably have a little bit more experience than you do. Sitting with a guy, and I'm not saying this is Mr. Sanchez specifically, however, I think it's pretty clear that alcohol was involved.
Just alcohol?
At least alcohol. Let's just say that. But I'll just limit it to alcohol. I cannot count how many times, and I'm being very sincere, I have sat, especially in arraignments, like right after an arrest, right? So someone is maybe 12 hours to 24 hours after the exact incident, and the client on the other side of the bar is waiting to meet the judge to determine what charges he or she is going to be faced with, and I say he or she, and then determine if they're coming home on bail or they're going to be remanded. Have said, alcohol. I'll never forget one of the cases that stayed with me forever, because he was a young man. He was like 18, and he beat someone up, and there was a crime aspect involved. And when he got sentenced to like 12 years, which was rough, and he goes, Mr. Aidala, he goes, alcohol is the worst drug. I've done all the drugs, but in terms of like getting into trouble, alcohol is the worst drug. And I have to be honest with you guys. I mean, I know weed is legal now, but when it was not legal, I never had a client who came in and said, I smoked a joint and I beat someone up. I smoked some weed and I stole a car. It's because most of the bad drugs are like downers. I mean, even like not heroin and oxy, they usually just put you in like a down, you want to just sit in a room and listen to Pink Floyd or something. The thing about the booze is you get, beer muscles and beer goggles. And I don't think it's a stretch for us to assume, considering where this took place, right outside a bar, that Mr. Mark Sanchez maybe had a couple of drinks in him.
Well, it's never a good look when people are wondering if you're on bath salts. I mean, that's the kind of weird behavior he was engaged in. Where the guy first, he sprayed him with pepper spray. This old man, I shouldn't say old man, because
take it easy.
69 is not that old. But this working man who's there picking up cooking oil, I guess leftover oil, he takes it back and he has to spray Sanchez, who gets in his face. And then that doesn't stop this guy from keep coming after him, and then finally has to stab him. And both of them look really bad afterwards. And it's Sanchez now who's been upgraded to a felony, part because of the age of the victim. But after all these people came out with these thoughts and prayers for Mark Sanchez that he's one of the good guys and let's wish him well, it looks like he was the aggressor. Matt Murphy, what would you do as a prosecutor in a case like this?
Well, as a prosecutor, this guy, the victim apparently has one of the stabbings went all the way through his cheek and cut his tongue. So that's what we call GBI, or great bodily injuries. So you gotta, I mean, that's felony conduct for sure.
Now he got stabbed too.
Yeah, the victim was stabbed as well in the melee, and unclear how that happened. Whether Mark Sanchez took the knife away, which I kind of doubt, or if it just happened during the struggle. It is I mean, look, just in the video that we saw there, NFL quarterback, when we watch the games, you see the quarterback is often the smallest guy. Those are still huge guys. He was, his playing weight, Mark Sanchez, was 6'2", 225. That is a
like
big
you,
man.
right, Matt?
And
Matt, like you, right?
Well, it's kind of embarrassing, Arthur. I am 6'2", and I had to do the math, which I'm always bad at, but I'm like, that's almost 50 pounds more than me on a post surf trip skinny day. So that's a big guy, professional athlete,
and he's in great shape. I mean, he's 38. He's in great shape.
Great shape, right? And look, Arthur is right on this. There's a Dave Chappelle skit with Rick James where he talks about cocaine. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Alcohol is a hell of a drug, and I've seen that too. We all have, Dave, right? You see the guy who's good and living a good life and doing everything right, and they get hammered, and all of a sudden they have that one bad night, and sometimes that's in the form of a drunken car accident where people die. Sometimes it's a stupid bar fight, just a totally out of character thing that unfortunately can completely change lives. What I was surprised by, and I know both you guys were too, how fast was this civil suit filed, guys? This was on Saturday night. The civil suit has already been launched along with allegations. I wanted to throw that to you, Arthur. I know you've been involved in some PI stuff, as I have, sort of on the side outside of the criminal thing, but man, that is awfully quick to pull the trigger.
Well, I will tell you, when a case like this happens, and it happens whether it's a criminal case or a civil case, the term one of my office mates uses, like, the sharks are in the water. And when the sharks being other lawyers. I mean, my first huge case was when I represented NFL great Lawrence Taylor, and I did his arraignment. And when I saw him, Lawrence, the end of the next day, after he played 42 holes of golf all day long, we had a great meeting over a cigar and a bottle of Chivas Regal. And I said, Lawrence, I only know how to do these cases one way. I go, I got to be all in. He goes, sure, all in. He goes, what do you mean? I go, Lawrence, let me ask something. How many people called you today when you were on the golf course to represent you or whatever? He goes, oh, I think I turned my phone off after the 8th call. He goes, I saw you in court yesterday. You could never be as bad as everyone told me you were. So those are my colleagues, my friends, right? Trying to steal the case away. The same is even worse in civil cases because that's all about the almighty dollar. And Mark Sanchez has money, but we presume. Besides the NFL, he had this great, NFL contract with Fox Sports. So as the lawyer, you don't want another lawyer stealing the case. So hey, why not put my name on it, put it into suit right away, and it makes it much more difficult for another lawyer from Morgan & Morgan or one of those big guys who advertise and be like, hey, I'm the best guy, let me file the suit for you. So I am not shocked that they did so quickly whatsoever. What I was shocked about, and when the first person sent me the picture of the grease truck driver here, I sent back, I go, that can't be real. That's got to be AI messing with us. And now that I see it's real, those are some legitimate injuries. And, Mark Sanchez has got a little bit of a hill to climb to get out of this problem.
Did you just give John Morgan a free plug on our show?
Yes.
Morgan
& Morgan.
He did.
Biggest
I don't
law firm
think
on
he
the planet.
needs that. And I know John, he's a great Floridian, but I don't think he needs any more advertisements. But okay, fair enough. While I have you guys here, before this block ends, I want to bring up another case. Kouri Richins, you remember her, the Utah mom who went on TV because her husband died suddenly of a drug overdose, and she talked about grief, wrote a book about it. Turns out she may have been the one who overdosed him, gave him fentanyl, and had done it before, allegedly. And so she's on trial for his murder. And it turns out the same defense attorney who's representing Tyler Robinson, the guy who allegedly killed Charlie Kirk, is now involved in this murder case. So she's got a high-profile defense lawyer. And apparently the star witness here for the prosecution, who was the drug dealer who allegedly sold the fentanyl to Kouri Richins, is now recanting. Art Aidala, is this a defense lawyer's dream?
Of course it is. Anytime you have a main witness, and here it's really, in my opinion, like a necessary witness, because these cases are very hard. And I've been on both sides of them, right? I currently represent a family whose child died with an overdose, and they're dying to find out who did it and how it happened. And the district attorney's office here has been fantastic, but it is so hard to thread the needle unless you have someone saying, yes, I saw defendant A give deceased party B this particular drug. I watched them snort it up their nose, and 5 minutes later they were dead. Yeah, that's okay. That very, very rarely happens, but it almost happened here. And now the person is saying, no, I never sold fentanyl. I believe they said it was OxyContin, and OxyContin is not the cause of death. So Matt Murphy's got an uphill battle.
Well, Matt, they still got a lot of evidence against her. And I think the jury's going to hate her when they see her on TV with the crocodile tears talking about the book she wrote to make money off of her husband's death. But, that's just the prosecutor and me coming out. Matt, what do you think?
Well, this is one of those cases. It looks like this was revealed during an interview with the defense. The defense attorney is alleging that the prosecution knew that he was recanting. I don't know what that's based on, but apparently she has come in and said that we interviewed him and now he's recanting. Okay, so we got a term for this that we've all heard, a little crass, but it's called a witness pissing backwards. And where you see this a lot is in gang cases. And it's that first, and you see a lot in domestic violence cases as well, but that first interview with the police is so critical because it's recorded. And after that is locked in, witnesses say all kinds of crazy things, as we all know. And so they will introduce probably one of the very first evidentiary codes ever in common law, and that is prior inconsistent statement. So the prosecution still has this. He's a drug dealer. I would love to see his interview, the original interview where he first laid out the fact that he'd given her fentanyl. But poisoning cases are really interesting, guys. There is... I'm sure you've each dealt with them before. They're rare in the world of homicide, but there tend to be a lot of patterns. And one of the patterns you see over and over again is there's almost always somebody in the person's background who comes out and says, I had a similar experience. So this is going to be a very interesting case to watch. If I was the DA on that case, I wouldn't be running off and dismissing it because a friggin' drug dealer has decided to piss backwards on what he told the police.
Not a chance they got so much more evidence. This is a setback, but not fatal unless you've got Art Aidala on the other side. So, all right, next.
I've never pissed backwards in my life, for the record. I've never heard that term. We don't talk like that in Brooklyn. Okay, we're much more refined, dignified, and elegant. I don't know what these California people, how they speak, but I mean, I am appalled. I'm appalled.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hurt your virgin ears.
Yeah, memory's like, this is an old expression all of us know, and neither of us are. I've never heard of it either. Pissing backwards.
Okay, good.
So thank you for educating us, sir. We don't run in the same circles, clearly.
I'm sorry to have offended everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, our virgin ears. So next, new body cam footage of Donna and Charlie Adelson show their true colors. You'll want to see this. Stay tuned.
Recently, I learned about colostrum. Well, I mean, anybody who's had a baby kind of knows about colostrum. It's the very first milk, known as liquid gold, that babies receive from their mothers after birth. It's packed with proteins, natural growth factors, antimicrobial peptides that work to enhance your immune response, reduce inflammation, and more. I want to tell you about cowboy colostrum, which offers the highest quality cow colostrum available. You could drink colostrum from a cow. It's 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. Now, look, you're already drinking cow's milk. Whether you know it or not, you're already kind of being breastfed from a cow if you drink milk. This is just getting you the very best stuff that comes from the cow. Don't overthink it. Just go for it. It's gonna leave you feeling satisfied. It's gonna give you high protein. That's what everybody's after. It is made with delicious natural ingredients, no artificial flavors. All you have to do is add 3-gram scoop of chocolate Madagascar colostrum from a cow. Who doesn't want that? Vanilla or strawberry into your coffee or your smoothie. It's going to be a fun conversation piece. For a limited time, get up to 25% off your entire order. Just head on over to cowboycolostrum.com/MK. Use the code MK at checkout. 25% off when you use the code MK at cowboycolostrum.com/MK. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. You can tell them our show sent you and that there was no laughing on this ad, no matter what they've heard. Thank you.
Welcome back. We'll get to our closing arguments and your mail, but first an update on the Adelsons, Charlie and Donna. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Check out some video we have of the mother and son behind bars. First, we'll go to Charlie, who had been convicted of first-degree murder, of the murder of FSU law professor, my friend Dan Markell. And here he is behind bars showing his true colors, because when a guard had accidentally apparently opened the door of his cell and hit his toe, he went crazy and was all upset and just demeaning her, and it was really ugly. And then the male guard came in, and you'll see how differently he sounds towards him. Roll clip.
Sorry.
Really stupid. You open the hatch, someone's standing here barefoot and you slam the door into their toe.
Can you 56 Foxtrot too?
Really stupid. Congratulations. You open a hatch when someone's standing here barefoot, you open a door into their toe?
Excuse me?
That was really stupid. Bring your lieutenant over, I'll tell him how stupid you are.
What you got?
Medical comes to hand me my pills, so I stand at the door so I can get them through the hatch like I always do. She opens the door and pushes the door and runs it over my toe. I don't think it's broken, I just think it's it's fine. I just like my medicine and be left alone.
He's fine. He's fine. He was just getting it off his chest to the woman, and then the guy comes in. He's a different person, two-faced. But this dude is a sociopath. I have my own personal feelings about the guy who was involved in the murder of a friend of mine. But that's Charlie Adelson. And Art and Matt, I want to open up to you real quick. Any thoughts about that video?
It's a nicer jail, and I'm being sincere. Like, it's a nicer jail cell than I would imagine. I'm dead serious. Like, I look, I don't get to go in where they live. I get to go to the attorney visiting rooms, but then they don't look like that. There's not like nice wood doors with little framed out glass and all of that stuff. So in his little wicked world that he's going to live in for the rest of his life, at least he's got a nice door.
Yeah. Matt?
So when I went into private practice, guys, I had an old mentor who pulled me aside, who retired from the DA's office. And he did about 5 years of criminal defense before I left. And he pulled me aside and he said, always remember to never forget the personalities and the decision-making that brings them to your office does not end simply because you decide to represent them, which I thought was really sage. And you got the personality of this guy. He just comes off as a dick, right? Like, I don't know if I can say that on the show.
Well, my mom's watching, but that's all right.
He's just awful, right? I mean, and on the other hand, it's like, look, he's got nothing better to do because he's essentially, he's got life. I don't know how it works down there in Florida, if he's going to be eligible at any time, Dave.
No.
But
nope. There is no parole in Florida.
So he basically gets to eat and complain about staff bumping into his toe, but it's a little vignette. It's a window into that guy's whole personality. Like, who would plot the murder of their brother-in-law because they're having a custody dispute with the sister? I introduced Charlie Adelson, people's number one. That's the kind of personality. And we got a clip of Mom, the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Yes.
That we're also going to play.
We're gonna show that. One thing to add is that I've seen enough of these prison shows like Oz and even Orange is the New Black to know that if anyone ever badmouthed or talked smack to a prison guard on those shows, they'd be eating their lunch off the floor. They'd be actually picking up their teeth from the floor. This guy's lucky that she didn't try to go after him. I guess with body cameras now, now everyone is treated a lot nicer because this guy was insulting. He was abusive. And the officers were way too nice to him, in my mind. But okay,
well,
so let's talk about
you are correct though about the body cameras and the way people are treated, and in some ways it's a good thing. I'll just leave it at that.
You know what? No, true. It is. At the same time, it's just like these officers have to put up with this kind of abuse. It didn't seem to get any sanction whatsoever for it. But I guess his sanction is never to be free again in his life. So, all right, Donna, his mother, who seems so nice before the verdict, and then after the verdict, you saw her true colors. Let's play the clip 6 of Donna before and after.
I'm completely my name is I'm with you. I'm gonna go too. We can both go. Yeah. Only if you take me with you. Yeah. You got a big day. Yeah, I know. The judge may not like it. Yeah, he don't know like it. He probably wants to be today. He probably wants to be here today too. Probably.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to laugh at someone's misfortune, but she is a convicted murderer now. And she's the one, along with her son, and maybe their daughter, we'll see, who killed a law professor because the professor loved his kids too much. And now she's facing the consequences. All right, quick thoughts. Matt Murphy.
You know what's shocking me about that is that woman was watching a different trial than the rest of us, I think, because you look at that clip, she thought she was going home, guys, right? I mean, I think that's what we see. She thinks she's going home, and then afterwards, not so much. And she's talking about how, yeah, the judge isn't going to like the day because the judge basically called the defense out multiple times, and her and, throughout that trial as a no-nonsense bench officer. That's what shocked me about that video, is that she actually thought she was going home. That was my read.
Yeah, and it shows how phony she is, because that's not who she was, the person before. I agree. She's living in her own bubble, her own world. Art, what do you think?
So I just want to make clear, David. So the video we saw at the end where she could barely breathe, that's right after she's convicted? Is that when that was taking place?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure. Despite what Matt says about me, there are times I don't win every case I try. So I have been, in a position where people who may or may not be factually innocent or guilty, but they hear the words guilty, and the reactions run the gauntlet. Some people are absolutely emotionless, and some people totally freak out. So at this point, doing this as long as I have, really nothing surprises me. So I'm not surprised she walked in. Look, I'll be blunt. Harvey Weinstein 5-6 years ago, when the jury was deliberating for over a week, it seemed like everything was going in his direction. He was pretty okay that morning. And then they came back and they said guilty. And, he just looked at me, he goes, how could they say guilty? I'm innocent. I'm innocent. And, and then because he had never been in jail before, and all of a sudden, stand up, put your hands behind your back. Wow. I mean, you go from eating caviar to bologna in literally minutes. You go from having a private bathroom with a bidet to, having 8 guys watch you do your business. So it's, as they said, at this point, nothing surprises me about how somebody reacts when they find out that they're going to spend the rest of their life basically in prison.
Yeah, let me add this, though. She did not have Art Aidala as her defense lawyer. And we all watched that, too. It was, I don't want to criticize anybody. Her defense team was a little underwhelming from what I saw. And to roll in that confident after a closing argument that I just thought missed it. I don't know. Yeah. Art, I will be calling you if I ever get in trouble in New York City.
I'll wear this suit. Don't worry. I'll wear this suit.
Okay. I like that suit.
All right. Let's go to mailbag. We got a great email from Margaret. And first off, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who emails us. We do get a bunch of emails, and we like to pick the best ones. And this is the best one. Margaret, I love your show. It's a fantastic idea, and add me to the people who would love to see it every weekday. My question, for the lawyers who are prosecutors and are now defense lawyers, why did you switch sides? So I think she's referring to Matt and me, not you, Arthur, because I don't think you've ever been a prosecutor, correct?
5 years, brother. 5 years. I tried the first capital case in the state of New York. So have a seat, all right, counselor?
Oh, man, I apologize.
All right.
I've never heard a
and I tried
I
was a prosecutor in Manhattan before Rudy Giuliani came in, when crime was crime. I got sworn in on February 1st of 1993. I was trying an attempted murder case on Valentine's Day, 2 weeks later. So, yeah, no, I was very much a prosecutor. So if you may, since I have the camera, I can answer the question.
Please.
I was there for almost 5 years. I went through almost every bureau, the grand jury bureau, the narcotics bureau, the investigations bureau, and the felony trial bureau. And for me, the next step was to be like a deputy bureau chief and like be a supervisor. And that really wasn't, I was 29. It wasn't really what I was looking to do. And quite frankly, an opportunity opened up to run for a local political office. And I said, I've tried some serious cases. I tried rape cases, robbery cases, murder cases, attempted murder cases, and a lot. I tried 13 trials to verdict in one calendar year, which you guys know is no joke. And so I was like, all right, I ran for office. I lost by 108 votes out of 7,300. And then I was like, let's try this criminal defense attorney thing out. And it kind of worked out pretty well, especially since most of the cases I got initially were from the district attorney's office, friends and family members of my former colleagues whose kids or relatives got jammed up, and the rest from 1997 till today is history.
Yeah, well, thank you, Art, and my apologies. I did not know that you once prosecuted the Joker in Manhattan. Okay.
Something like that.
Matt Murphy.
Yeah, not totally dissimilar. I didn't want to go into management. So I spent 26 years as a prosecutor, and I spent 17 years in the homicide unit. And that was a vertical unit, so we were on call 24/7 for 17 years. And I had assigned cities where I'd have to roll out in the middle of the night with my detectives, which honestly, although it might sound sick, I still miss that every day. I miss my cops. I miss my team. But after 26 years of trying to save the world, one murder at a time, I thought it was a good time for me to make a move. We had a new DA that came in. There were going to be some structural changes that I wasn't really down with. So I thought I'd leave and explore what else was out there. I put up a flyer, and that's when I got hired by ABC News, who've been great to me since I left in 2019. And believe it or not, there are some cases that I know Art has had this experience. I know, Dave, you've had this experience too, where I'm just as passionate about some of my defendants that have been charged with crimes, believe it or not. A large percentage of my practice defending police officers. I got one who was charged by George Gascon in LA County that, he's an innocent man. It's kind of rare that we get to say that as criminal defense lawyers, and I will go to the friggin' mat for this guy with all the zeal and exuberance that I had as a prosecutor. So those cases are out there. They're a few and far between, which is why I'm doing as much of this media stuff as I can in between those really good cases. But I miss it, but I have no regrets about leaving, if that makes any sense.
Thank you, Matt. And I'll be quick. I was state attorney for 12 years, and I loved it, loved every minute of it. But term limits are there for a reason. And even though I didn't have a term limit, I internally just felt that these jobs should never be forever. And at some point, it's good to let someone else do it to bring some new energy. I loved it, but I also love what I'm doing now at my own law firm, Dave Aronberg Law. And it's a new challenge. Plus, I got to be honest. I was living on a government salary for 25 years. I got married and I got a house in the suburbs. So yeah, it's nice to be in the private sector for a while. So that's our answers here to Legal Mailbag. Thank you. And now it's time for closing arguments. We're a little over time, so I'm going to ask everyone to try to keep it to 1 minute. Art Aidala, the floor is yours.
I'm surprised that yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, Monday, that the Supreme Court of the United States did not decide to hear the Ghislaine Maxwell appeal. And if they did so because it's a subject matter that's not going to come up that often, which is one of the things they look at. Like, how important is this actual issue? So be it. But folks should understand, one of the kind of original jurisdiction matters that the Supreme Court usually takes into consideration is if different states, different circuits rule on things differently, because it's supposed to be consistent throughout the country. And this is one of those things. Ghislaine Maxwell argued that she was protected by an immunity agreement in the state of Florida, and it said the United States of America versus Epstein, and she was protected under that. And New York said, no, you're only protected, even though it says the United States of America, you're only protected in Florida, you're not protected in New York. Typically, the Supreme Court of the United States would take that up and hear those arguments and make a decision and tell the country whether, when you get an immunity from one state, you're covered in the whole country or not. But they refused to do so. They did so because it didn't make sense, because it's not an issue that's going to come up all the time. That's one thing. If they didn't take her case because they didn't want to get caught up in the Jeffrey Epstein smear, well, then they kind of neglected their duty and their obligation to all the citizens of the United States of America to make sure we have a consistent and uniform system of criminal justice.
Thank you, Art, and timely. Well said. Matt?
Yeah, I want to go back to Diddy here for a second. And one of the things that people have been kind of universally confused about is, why was this a federal case when we had all these underlying state crimes? In other words, we saw the video of Cassie Ventura getting beaten in that hotel. We heard about Kid Cudi and the arson that happened there. And I want to speak just for a second to the defund the police crowd. And in Los Angeles County, where I grew up, it is right now we have the lowest number of sworn police officers since 1995. There's about 8,600 sworn officers. And there really is an impact to law enforcement, but more specifically to the families of the victims of violent crime. Those are the people that suffer most from this defund the police nonsense. And I'm hoping the pendulum is starting to swing. But for those that are upset by the Diddy verdicts, in my view, he should have been prosecuted in state court for those things. He wasn't, and a lot of that is a reflection of kind of the LA City Council buying hook, line, and sinker into that defund the police nonsense. So that's my rant, just somewhere way down from the academic world and the ivory tower and slogans like that. There are bereaved families that have lost loved ones that suffer the most when they cut back funds from police departments. So that's my closing argument for today.
Matt Murphy, thank you. Very well said. So today we are recording on October 7th, and it is the 2-year anniversary of the worst mass murder of Jews since the Holocaust. And I wear this ribbon to bring attention to the 48 hostages that are still in captivity in Gaza. 20 of them are supposedly alive, and I'm hopeful that they will come home soon. But it is tragic that they've been forgotten by many in the world. Many in the world seem to care more about the misguided, self-indulgent Greta Thunberg, who tries to break through a military blockade during a war to promote herself. And instead, you forget about the actual hostages who are still there in Gaza, who are starving and being tortured. And you had 1,200 people who were murdered on October 7th, and it led to the start of an awful war, but a war that Israel did not start. And Israel has won the war militarily, but it has lost the PR battle as college students and others march to globalize the Intifada, which means commit mass murder around the world against Jews, and to stop the genocide. It is telling that it's Israel that has adopted President Trump's peace plan, not Hamas. I've never seen a genocide where the government of the supposed victims are refusing to end the so-called genocide. This is a war, not a genocide. It's ugly and it needs to end. But the only genocide in this conflict was the one that was attempted by Hamas on October 7th. And all the protests and the violent attacks on Jews around the world, including in this country, continues to show why a safe and secure Israel must exist. On the 2-year anniversary of October 7th, my prayer is that a deal will be reached, the Palestinian people will be freed from Hamas, and that they will choose a peaceful future with its neighbor, and that the hostages will come home now. That's my rant. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman.
I join in your rant, David. I join in your rant from New York City.
Yeah, I do too.
God bless you, brother.
I do too. Yep. I agree with everything you just said.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure to be on with you. We've had some spirited debate, but I have immense respect for you, Arthur Aidala, and you, Matt Murphy. And we'll see you next time.
David, I got to tell you, I've been on with a whole bunch of these hosts now on MK True Crime, and you are absolutely average.
You know what? I've had a lot of guests on with me, and Art, you are the most recent. So,
God bless, guys.
God bless you guys.
Hey, Art. Yeah, thanks, Dave. Hey, Art, my girlfriend, believe it or not, is a huge Arthur Aidala fan here in New York City. So we got to get drinks sometime, buddy. I come back in like 3 weeks.
Your world is whatever I can do for you. Consider it done. As long as Natasha approves it, we're good.
Well, we're still on. Okay. We're still on the air, technically.
We're all buddies here. We're all friends. Me, you, Natasha, Radar, the whole crew. All right. I love it.
Well, to all of you who've endured this to the end, send us your story suggestions, questions, and comments at mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com, mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. Have a great week.